Heaven's dark secrets revealed. They'll haunt you forever if you don't know this now. It was a night like no other, where the shadows seemed to whisper secrets, longing to be heard. The moon hung high, illuminating the abandoned town of Eldridge, its eerie quiet broken only by the rustle of leaves and a distant, mournful howl. The townsfolk always spoke of a darkness that crept in just before dawn, bringing with it chilling tales of lost souls and spirits seeking retribution. But what happened that night would change everything and shatter the fragile peace the town clung to. As the clock struck midnight, a figure emerged from the fog, a woman clad in a ragged white dress, her hair tangled and wild, eyes as haunted as the very graveyard she walked among. They'd call her the spectre of Eldridge. Children would cover their eyes, daring one another to look, but no one would dare approach her. Shadows swirled around her, as if she commanded them, and the air crackled with an energy that made the hairs on one's arms stand tall. Then came the whispers. One night, a local boy named Tommy, always the brave one, swore he heard her voice calling his name. "Tommy, come, there's something you need to see." The townsfolk gasped. They knew better than to give in to such temptations. But Tommy didn't listen. He crept out under the cover of darkness, heart pounding like a marching drum, feet barely making a sound on the gravel path leading to the old church. What he found there was a glimmering object half buried in dirt, a silver locket, glinting like a beacon against the backdrop of oblivion. When he opened it, he found not a picture but a message scrawled in a frantic hand: "The ones we love will return, but beware the cost." His breath hitched. A mixture of fear and intrigue washed over him. What did it mean? Who were the ones and what cost? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Tommy stood there, locket in hand, heartbeat echoing in his ears like thunder. Suddenly, the air shifted, and the ghostly figure appeared before him, closer than ever, the unsettling glow from her eyes piercing through the darkness. "You found it, do you understand now?" she whispered, the wind carrying a chill that threatened to swallow him whole. He felt the tightness in his chest, the creeping sensation of dread slithering down his spine. And as the fog thickened around them, Tommy couldn't shake the feeling that he had stumbled upon something far beyond his understanding, a truth that could set the restless spirits free or bind him to them forever. What would he choose? With his heart racing and the weight of the locket heavy in his palm, Tommy took a step forward into the unknown, not knowing he was about to uncover the true horror that awaited him. The air was heavy as Tommy stood frozen, the locket burning against his skin like a brand. The spectre remained still, her gaze unwavering, almost expectant. The silence strangled him, wrapping around his throat, suffocating every rational thought. "What do you mean?" he finally managed to croak, each word thick with fear. "What will it cost?" Her lips twitched into a shadow of a smile, teeth glinting like spoons in a dystopian gift shop. "The truth always carries a weight," she murmured, her voice swirling around him, haunting yet strangely comforting. "You seek to know what lies beyond this life, but are you prepared to pay the price?" Tommy felt a shiver skitter down his spine. "I just want to know about those who are lost. My mom, she's gone. Can you bring her back?" The air thickened with her response, swirling shadows forming the outline of what almost resembled a face, a twisted mirror of his own. Lost souls wander between worlds, trapped by their unfulfilled dreams. They yearn for release. She stepped closer, her ghostly form illuminated by the moonlight. "But if you wish to bring one back, a bargain must be struck." "Bargain?" Tommy's stomach twisted. "What do you want?" "Simple," she replied, an edge creeping into her voice. "One life for another." His heart thundered like a drum in the dead of night. "You mean I would have to give up my life?" The spectre nodded, her image flickering like a candle flame dancing to a ghostly rhythm. Not just yours. Anyone's life you can claim. Fear gripped Tommy, tightening around him like a noose. I can't do that, he gasped, the very thought sending a wave of nausea surging through him. I want to kill someone. But think, dear Tommy, she continued, her voice like silk, weaving through his defenses. If you bring back someone lost to you, wouldn't it be worth the sacrifice? She leaned in. What if I told you it could be someone who has wronged you? Someone who hurt your family? The choice could be easy. Discomfort gnawed at Tommy. He remembered the town's whispers about the man responsible for his mother's death, a shadow in the corner of his town, a ghost as real as the woman before him. For a fleeting moment, the darkness in him flickered to life. Could he really do it? Unsure, he clenched the locket tighter, letting the cool metal bite into his palm. And if I refuse? A cold wind rushed through the graveyard, the shadows recoiling as if anticipating a disaster. Then the curse will turn upon your family. The ones who love you will lose their way, caught in the same fog you see now. Trapped forever with me. Tommy's breath quickened. Images of his mother and brother flashed before him. A twitch of guilt clawed at his insides. Would he risk losing them to despair? Suddenly, noise erupted from the shadows, rustling, whispers, cries. Tommy turned, eyes wide with horror. Tommy! A voice called, familiar yet fraught with urgency. It was his brother, Jake. Where was he? What was he doing here? Before Tommy could cry out, the figure of the specter faded back into the fog, leaving behind only the echoes of her warning. Now, Tommy, the voice whispered from the depths of the mist, a mix of shadows swirling around him. Your choice must be made. Choose wisely. He felt the weight of the locket in his palm, heart racing as his brother's footsteps drew near. Tommy was standing at the edge of a precipice, the fear of the unknown closing in like an iron shroud. What choice would he make before the dark swallowed all he held dear? The fog thickened, wrapping around him like a cocoon, blurring the line between reality and the dreaded choices ahead. Little did he know, the clock was ticking down. The shadows twisted and writhed, thickening around Tommy like smoke choking a fire. He could barely see, but he felt the presence of his brother closing in, desperation etched into every heartbeat. Tommy! Jake called out again, his voice strained, battling against the oppressive fog. The sound of his brother's footsteps was like thunder, echoing in the silence of the graveyard. Jake! I'm here! Tommy shouted, forcing his feet to move, stumbling toward the sound. Panic clawed at him, pulling him deeper into disarray. He needed to reach Jake before the darkness pulled them both under. The fog grew heavier, swirling around him, obscuring his vision. Sharp breaths punctuated the silence as the echoes of the specter's words rang in his ears. What price would he be forced to pay? One life for another. What kind of sick game was this? Suddenly he felt Jake's hand grasp his arm, pulling him back from the precipice of despair. What is happening, Tommy? You look pale. Jake's voice was filled with frantic worry, but for now, it grounded him, anchoring him in reality. Jake, we need to get out of here, Tommy pleaded, desperately trying to brush off the weight of the choice gnawing at him. I think I may have found a way to bring Mom back. Bring Mom back? Tommy, you can't be serious. Jake's face reflected disbelief, and for a moment, Tommy almost wished he had never mentioned it. Oh God, what have you done? Jake's eyes darted around the graveyard, fear seeping through his bravado. You're not talking about that thing, are you? The realization hit Tommy with the force of a tidal wave. The specter lurked just outside the circle of their panic, weaving her manipulative web of darkness, her vicious whispers echoing in the depths of his mind. Jake, I have to do something. She said, if I don't, the curse will take us both. It'll take everyone we love. Panic surged in Tommy's voice, thick and choking. I don't care. Jake shouted, frustration boiling over. What's the point of bringing her back if you have to sacrifice someone else? Mom wouldn't want that. With those words, a flicker of clarity broke through Tommy's frenzied thoughts. His mind raced. Was Jake right? Could he really condone the idea of sacrificing another life? The darkness that threatened to consume him whispered foul memories, encouraging him to consider those who had wronged them. But at what cost? I can't, Tommy murmured, his resolve hardening. I refuse to hurt anybody, even for her. Then let us go, Jake insisted, pulling him toward the thickening mist, urging him forward. But the air felt heavy, as if the cemetery itself was sinking into despair. At that moment, the fog stirred and broke apart, revealing the spectre once more, her eyes blazing with a fierce hunger. You seek to defy your fate? How naive, she hissed, her voice dripping with venom. The ground trembled beneath them as Tommy felt the weight of 100 lifetimes pressing against his chest. No! Back away! The spectre's laughter was chilling, a sweet, melodic sound mixed with malice. You still have time, Tommy. You must choose, or all will be lost. Jake's grip tightened around his wrist, raw with fear and determination. We're not going to play your game, he yelled, standing protectively in front of Tommy, ready to fight for their family. Very well, the spectre's voice trailed off, and a whirlwind of shadows erupted, swirling dangerously close, as if the graveyard itself was coming alive with a malevolent will of its own. Tommy gasped as nightmarish faces stretched across the fog, wailing souls, each representing a life waiting to escape. The choice loomed before him, weightier than ever. Was he ready to sacrifice everything for a what-if? Time ticked away, pulling them deeper into darkness, hearts racing against the encroaching void. What terrible price awaited him if he didn't decide fast enough? And why did the wind carry whispers that sounded ever so familiar? As the fog thickened around them, Tommy felt the locket's chill seep deeper into his flesh, as if it were alive, throbbing with each pounding heartbeat. Tommy! Now! Jake yelled, pulling him back towards a flickering memory, an image of their mother woven into the shadows. Jake! I have to choose, Tommy cried, the rush of urgency mingling with the tension that constricted his throat, and then, through the spectral whispers, he understood. The decision that could bring them both to hell or set them free loomed before him, but darkness lurked behind every choice. What if his next move sealed their fate forever? The shadows whipped violently, merging into an ominous storm as Tommy stood frozen, heart pounding, heavy with the weight of his decision. Each beat echoed through the graveyard, a relentless drumming that matched the frantic whispers of the spectre. It was chaos embodied, a swirling vortex of fear, regret, and longing. Jake's voice cut through the din, desperation mingling with a fierce protectiveness. Tommy, think. If you do this, nothing can undo it. We could lose everything. In that moment, Tommy's mind flashed to their mother's warm embrace, her laughter, and the light that filled their home when it echoed with joy. Could he bring that back by trading another soul? A fire burned inside him, battling between hope and horror. Mom would want us to be together, but at this price? Tommy's voice trembled, nearly lost in the haunting echoes of the restless spirits. The spectre stepped forward, her features shifting, representing the very essence of temptation. Such loyalty, such love. Imagine the joy of reuniting. Just one small sacrifice. Her tone dripped with sweetness that turned bitter in his ears, a siren's call. No! Jake shouted, stepping closer, all bravado despite the eerie specters that clawed at the edges of their vision. Don't listen to her, Tommy. Mom wouldn't want this. We can handle it together. Just remind yourself of the price. Tommy felt torn, suspended between two worlds, the life he craved with their mother, and the life he shared with Jake. But the darkness roared around them, the swirling mist thickening with the cries of the damned. What choice could allow for any triumph? The fog twisted violently as a gust of wind howled, scraping against their skin like icy fingers. He felt the locket, its chill pressing into him like a haunting reminder of their loss. A shiver ran down his spine as the spectre's laughter resounded, ringing in his ears like chimes in a storm. Do you think you can challenge me? She mocked, closing the distance between them. You're swimming in a sea of lost souls. They're mine to command. You're already too late. Desperation surged. Tommy lunged forward, striking out at the spectre, a wild move fueled by raw instinct. Get away from us! His scream shattered the tension, but as his fist cut through the fog, he felt a stinging pain rip through him, the spectre's anger manifesting like icy daggers, piercing through the last shreds of hope. He stumbled back, breathless, grasping at his arm as darkness closed in around him. Now you see the consequences of disobedience, Tommy, the spectre sneered, her face contorting with glee. No escape, only despair. You will know it well before this night is through. Reality twisted, and the air grew heavy with dread, suffocating under the unbearable knowledge of his impending doom. Tommy's throat tightened as brazen apparitions began to unfurl around him, fleeting images of faces he recognized, voices he longed to hear again. Jake's voice pierced through the fog. Tommy. Focus! Fight it! Remember Mom, what she taught us. We don't give in! The familiar fire sparked again, ignited by Jake's words. This wasn't just about bringing their mother back. It was about saving themselves from becoming ghosts, condemned to the darkness. Determination replaced despair as Tommy shook off the pain, clenching the locket tighter in his grip. We do this together, Jake. No sacrifice, no surrender. The shadows shrieked, angered by their defiance as the faces twisted into twisted forms. You foolish boys. This is not over. You'll pay dearly for your refusal. With a surge of strength, Tommy spun toward Jake. We run. We don't look back, we keep moving. Together, they plunged into the thick fog, hearts racing against the demands of the spectre, as the night screamed around them. But doubt crept back into Tommy's mind. Had they really escaped? Or had they only delayed the inevitable? A chilling laugh echoed in the shadows as the fog swirled with relentless fury. The spectre's voice blended into the wind. Remember, Tommy, the choice is yours. And there will always be a price to pay there. Frantic escape turned into a race against time, but what awaited them beyond the veil of darkness? Would they uncover the truth, or would the shadows consume them whole? A stark reality loomed. Would they ever feel safe again? The fog enveloped them, a suffocating blanket that clung to their skin. Each step felt like wading through thick sludge, as if the shadows beneath their feet were trying to pull them down into a never-ending abyss. Tommy glanced over at Jake, whose face was pale, eyes wide with fear. They were in this together, but fear had a way of warping reality, making even the strongest bond feel thin. Did we lose her? Jake panted, glancing back as they moved deeper into the fog. A harsh gust of wind howled, swirling the mist around them, teasing at the edges of their sight. The world seemed to tremble, and for a moment, Tommy felt as though the ground beneath him might give way. I don't know, but we can't stop. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed behind them, scraping against the gravel paths of the graveyard. Panic surged within Tommy. It was as if the very earth itself realized they were trying to escape and refused to let them. Faster! Jake shouted, pulling at Tommy's arm, urgency laced with desperation. They pushed through the fog, but it seemed determined to drag them back, wrapping around their legs and making each movement heavier than the last. Shadows flickered in their peripheral vision, fleeting glimpses of faces twisted in agony, and whispering voices that chilled Tommy to the bone. Please no! Tommy! Screamed a voice, a haunting echo that made him stop dead in his tracks. Tommy! Keep moving! Jake yelled, pulling him forward. But something deep inside his gut froze him in place. The voice, it sounded like her. Mom? He called out, the hope spilling from his lips like water from a broken jug. Silence wrapped around them, heavy and thick. It was as if the world held its breath, waiting for something he didn't know what. Tommy! Snap out of it! Jake tugged harder, his grip firm, pulling Tommy away from the grip of lingering memories. We can't let her catch us. No! I have to know! He shouted back, shaking off Jake's hold. The moment hung in the air, taut with urgency and dread. There was something about that voice that pulled at his heartstrings, a thread unbroken even by death. Just one small sacrifice, the spectre's voice chimed, echoing from the shadows. It was not just a memory, it was a trap. With a jolt, Tommy realized it was the spectre weaving illusions, a ploy to ensnare him, to rip open his wounded heart and expose him to the darkness. Let us go. Now! Jake shouted again, desperately, as the shadows strained against the last strands of their resolve. In that split second, Tommy surfed the storm of memories and fear, heart racing in a wild, frantic rhythm. Together. We've gotta stick together. He reached for Jake's hand, and they took off running as if the graveyard itself might collapse in on them. Yet, the shadows weren't done. With every step, the ominous rumble of the ground beneath morphed into roars, and the fog twisted, pulling back only sporadically to reveal more dark figures, faces contorted in rage. Ghostly hands reached out, brushing against their skin, chilling them to the core, reminding them of what they could lose forever. Keep going, Tommy urged, adrenaline coursing through him, forcing every ounce of strength to push the spectre's taunts out of his mind. But in the chaos, Jake tripped, tumbling to the ground, struggling to rise again as Tommy felt the world tilt. Fear pierced Tommy's heart like a dagger. He paused, caught in a moment of horror, but a low rumble of laughter rolled through the shadows, taunting them. Everyone pays their due, the spectre's voice echoed with sadistic glee, drenched in malice. Just a drop of blood and you'll find peace, Jake. Tommy gasped, racing back to him, but as he knelt, a vision of their mother flickered through the fog, drawing him in a flicker of love that sent warmth through his chest. Tommy, it whispered, silky and sweet, come save us. Jake's terrified scream cut through the vision, grounding him, shattering the spell. No, Tommy. She's not real. Fight it. We can't sacrifice for this. The world around them faded, leaving only the echoes of his heartbeat. Wasn't he this about saving them from the darkness? The choice continued to loom, heavy with temptation. He could keep running, keep searching for answers, or give in to the pull of those sweet lies. But what if the truth lay buried in the darkness too? As shadows encroached, intent on consuming them, Tommy's decision crystallized in that moment. His heart hammered in his chest, the weight of their destinies hanging in the balance. Just ahead, a path emerged through the haze. What lay at the end? With a fierce resolve, he grabbed Jake's hand tightly. We move forward together. No sacrifice. No fear. But was that defiance enough? They plunged deeper, and uncertain how long they could endure, the darkness loomed behind them. Would they escape the spectre's clutches? Or would their fears drown them in the haunting darkness? The night was far from over, and the answers awaited just beyond the veil. The fog thickened, wrapping around them like a sinister embrace, dragging its cold fingers across their skin. Tommy's heart pounded in his chest, each beat resonating with an urgency that echoed in the void. They stumbled forward, Jake's breath a labored whisper beside him. The path ahead grew murky, shifting shapes rising and falling like restless spirits. Are we even going the right way? Jake gasped, glancing back into the swirling gray behind them. No time for doubt, Tommy shot back, steering them left where he thought an ancient mausoleum loomed. Trust me. Each step felt like a battle, the very ground seeming to tug them back, the shadows reaching for their ankles like grasping hands desperate to drag them down. A chill swept through Tommy as they passed under a sprawling old tree, its branches twisting and contorting like the hands of the damned. The silence was suffocating, oppressive. Just when he thought they might find some hint of safety, a whisper slipped through the air, sweet yet sinister. Tommy, Jake, come back. He froze again, those words weaving into his mind like a vine. No! We have to keep moving! Tommy, listen to me! Jake yelled, pulling him forward as the whispered voice faded into the fog. If we stop, if we don't keep fighting, it'll take us, take you. The thought of surrendering shattered any lingering pull of that voice. They pushed onwards, a single thought crystallizing in both of their minds: survival. Suddenly, a figure blocked their path, a dark silhouette emerging from the fog, sharp against the pale mists. It stood unnaturally still, features obscured, but there was no mistaking the sinister intent. Tommy's pulse quickened, terror coursing through his veins. What do you want? He shouted, voice trembling as fear clawed at his throat. Your reckoning. The figure's voice was venomous, the syllables dripping with contempt. You seek truth, yet you fear the cost. The spectre does not take kindly to those who resist. You've only just begun to taste the bitterness of her wrath. Get away from us! Jake yelled, stepping in front of Tommy, defiance shining in his fear-laden eyes. The figure merely chuckled, a sound that sent icy shivers down their spines. Run, children! But know this, the deeper you delve, the more you'll lose. The shadows hold not just your fears, but your memories, your lives. With a swift motion, the figure vanished, leaving only the stench of decay and lingering dread. The fog swirled again, taunting them as familiar voices echoed around them, distorting into anguish. Tommy, Jake, we need you, focus. Tommy blurted, his voice straining against the chaos. We're not giving in. But as the shadows danced, flickers of their past twisted and morphed. He caught glimpses of laughter, moments spent with their mother, innocent and blissful days overshadowed by the burden of her loss. We have to stick to the path, Jake shouted, redirecting their attention to the twisting trail before them. We can't let the memories confuse us. Together they stumbled ahead, fingers clasped tightly like a lifeline, hearts anchored to the resolve of not yielding. The shadows thrummed around them, and Tommy could swear he felt warmth brush against his neck, faint as a whisper. Remember, but just as they rounded a corner, a thunderous boom resonated, echoing through the dread-heavy air, shaking them to their core. A crack formed in the earth, jagged and deep, as if the very ground was convulsing in anger. Panic gripped them anew. What now? Tommy shouted, his instincts screaming. Forward! Jake yelled, pulling Tommy closer as they fumbled their footing on the uneven terrain. We can't go back. But ahead, the fog seemed to teem with life of its own, coalescing into what looked like a sprawling silhouette, one that was unmistakable. Mom? Tommy gasped, as her familiar form flickered into view, hesitant yet filled with longing. Tommy, Jake, you must choose the truth or the shadows. Before he could process, the earth trembled again, lurching beneath them, and suddenly, a chorus of voices erupted from the depths of the mist. Save us, don't. Leave us, it's your fault. The weight of accusations crashed against Tommy, each word a knife to his heart. Desperation clawed at him. He had to fight. But could he grasp the truth without losing everything? What if, beyond the veil, lay secrets too dark to bear? As the fog closed in, obscuring their path, a question loomed larger than life. Who would survive the revealing of heaven's dark secrets? Tommy's breath hitched in his throat, voices swirling around him like a tornado, an unrelenting storm of pain and sorrow. Mom! He shouted again, battling against the echoes that clawed at his mind, trying to drown out his voice. The shadows thickened, encasing him in a dark embrace, but he couldn't allow himself to falter. Not now. Not when it felt like the weight of his past was dragging him down. Keep moving, Jake urged, his grip tightening around Tommy's hand, as if the mere act of holding on could anchor them against the rising tide of despair. Which way? Tommy gasped, panic clawing at him like a beast. The fog engulfed everything except the faint glow from what felt like memories, flashing bright and then fading, leaving only snippets of stained recollections. Anywhere but here! Jake shouted, his face taut with determination. The mausoleum, we have to reach it. They pressed on, each step feeling heavy with doubt. The whispers morphed, now taunting them with glimpses of the specter of their mother. You want to remember? Faces of happiness, but also of grief. Are you ready to face it? No! Tommy yelled into the void, eyes burning with unshed tears. He hated this, hated her image for being a sword in his chest one moment, and a flicker of warmth the next. We're not looking back. The ground bucked beneath them, cracks spreading like veins through the earth, each tremor tearing at their sanity. There! Jake pointed toward a looming structure, the mausoleum finally visible, its decaying stones looming like a sentinel against the fog. Run! Tommy shouted, spurred by desperation. They charged forward, dodging pockets of shadow that clawed and hissed around them. A sinking dread filled Tommy's gut as the walls of the mausoleum beckoned, promising both safety and secrets long buried. Tommy! Jake's scream echoed sharply, snapping him out of his frantic momentum. He turned just in time to see Jake drawn back, ensnared by shadowy figures crawling from the cracks, squeezing around his waist. No! Tommy lunged forward, but the grip held tight, the shadows writhing like vipers. Jake! Fight it! Don't give in! Find the truth! Jake shouted, his eyes wide with terror and determination. You need to promise me! With an agonizing wrench, Jake was gone, swallowed by the mists. The walls of the mausoleum loomed over Tommy, dark and dripping with secrets, and the air felt electric, charged with something sinister yet beckoning. Find the truth, the words rang in his ears, the pull almost irresistible. What truth? Was it safer to confront it, or to run? He stepped toward the entrance, the cool stones sending shivers up his spine. What horrors waited inside? Every fiber of his being screamed at him to turn back, but then he heard Jake's voice again. Don't leave me! Heart pounding in his chest, determination surged through him. I want tea! He shouted, forcing his way inside, the darkness wrapping around him like the cold embrace of an old friend. The musty air was thick, laden with the memories of years gone by. Tommy squinted through the gloom, making out the shapes of old tombs and forgotten names. As he moved deeper, he saw a faint light flickering in the distance. Hope ignited within him, but flashing images of loss clouded his vision. Mom? He called out, voice trembling with need. The shadows danced closer, ever potent, swirling ominously. You can't change the past. But you must choose what you carry forward. This isn't real. Tommy shouted back, defiance rising like a flame in the dark. Suddenly, a cold hand grasped his shoulder, and he spun around. The same dark silhouette they had encountered before stood behind him, this time more distinct, more imposing. Will you face what you've forgotten? Or will you watch everything you love get lost in time, like your brother? Tommy's heart sank, the words piercing through the haze. What do you mean? The figure tilted its head, conveying a chilling sense of satisfaction. The choice isn't yours to make, it lies in what you're willing to sacrifice. As the shadows closed in, their whispers coiled around him, filling his ears with desperation and fear. Tommy's pulse quickened, and with every ounce of courage he whispered, I'm not afraid. But would courage be enough to uncover the cruel truth, or would it seal their fates deeper within the shadows? To know what lies ahead, he would have to risk everything. Would he emerge from the fog with the answers he sought, or would he be consumed, forever lost in the limbo of his memories? Tommy stumbled backward, the weight of the silhouette pressing against him like a living nightmare. The cold grip on his shoulder seared through the fabric of his resolve. Fear gripped him, an icy fist around his heart. The flickering light in the distance seemed to pulse as if in tune with his racing pulse, battling against the darkness. Your past is woven into these stones, the figure whispered, the voice smooth like honey but sharp like a knife. Echoes of love and loss coexist in shadows. Are you ready to confront them? I'll do anything to save Jake, Tommy insisted, the words escaping his lips like a promise he wasn't sure he could keep. Anything. The shadowy figure regarded him with a hunger that made his stomach churn. Anything? What will you relinquish for the truth? Some memories are merciless, you may find it's more than you're willing to sacrifice. As if on cue, the mausoleum moaned a deep, rumbling sound that resonated in the deepest parts of Tommy's chest. The stones seemed to swell and pulsate, as though they were alive, trapping him within their ancient embrace. The ground beneath him shook again, more violently this time, and the dusty air turned thick with dread. Tommy clenched his fists, steadying himself against the wall. I just want to see Jake again. I need to find him. Do you even know where he is? The figure's tone sliced through the fabric of his thoughts. You run into darkness, wondering if light exists. But sometimes the darkest truths shine as bright as the sun, and yet they burn. Memories flooded Tommy's mind, brief flashes of laughter, love, and finally, gut-wrenching pain. Images of his mother surfaced, her gentle smile haunted by shadows. Every heartbeat echoed with the tension of unspoken words. Enough! I wouldn't let you play with my head! He shouted, pushing against the heaviness of despair. He took a shaky step toward the light, feeling the warmth creeping around him. Tommy! Stop! The familiar voice cut through the shadows, a desperate plea carried on the winds of regret. "Jake!" he gasped, straining to listen against the ambient chaos. Every surge of emotion split him open, raw and vulnerable. "Where are you?" The tombs around him seemed to vibrate, and the flickering light pulsed in response. "Look deeper," the figure urged. "What if what you find is worse than losing him? Are you ready to face that?" A sudden rush of cold air swept through the mausoleum, extinguishing the light and plunging him into a suffocating darkness. Tommy's breath hitched as a chorus of whispers surrounded him, the echoes of time-forgotten whispered names, each one twisting like a knife in his heart. "Mother? Jake? Someone! Please!" he cried into the void. But the mist closed tight around him, and realization began to dawn. He was ensnared in the very memories he had tried to escape. What if the truth was more painful than he imagined? The thoughts sent waves of nausea rolling through him. "There is no turning back," the shadow scoffed. "You can search forever, but the cost of knowing may devour you whole. What pain can you bear? What hearts will you shatter?" With renewed urgency, he grasped at the walls of the mausoleum, feeling the jagged stones beneath his fingertips. The warmth of the light was just beyond reach, and so was the hope of finding Jake. "Fight the darkness!" he shouted, clenching his jaw, pushing against the fear piling on his chest. Suddenly, the ground beneath him trembled fiercely, and a crack split the floor, sending shockwaves through the mausoleum. Shadows split and twisted, revealing glimpses of haunting memories, the laughter mixed with heartache, the warmth next to chilling void. Tommy felt a presence rise within him as a surge of defiance fueled his soul. "Jake! I won't give up! I'll find you!" And then, as if summoned by his cry, a blinding light burst forth from the cracks, illuminating the mausoleum in brilliant white. Images swirled before him, circling him like vultures, each as sharp as glass yet breathtakingly beautiful. "Only the truth can save you," the figure hissed, the shadows retreating as the light grew stronger. "You must choose, but be warned, truth brings with it the weight of reality. Are you prepared to carry it?" Tommy's heart raced as he stepped forward, merging with the radiant light. The choice loomed over him: would he embrace the truth, no matter the toll? A sudden jolt rocked the chamber, and the cries of Jake echoed louder, clearer. "Tommy! Help me!" But the cries fragmented into brilliance, clarity shattered by choices yet to be made. "Don't let me fade into the shadows." Jake's voice slipped through a crack in the darkness, desperation unbound in every syllable. With his brother's life hanging in the balance, Tommy held his breath. The moment had arrived. What truth awaited him in the light, and at what cost would he uncover it? The answers hung before him like a mirage, tantalizingly close yet potentially devastating. Would he dare step into the burning brilliance to save his brother, or lose them both forever? The light enveloped Tommy, swallowing him whole in its embrace. It was blinding, almost unbearably bright, yet it burned away the shadows, each flicker revealing flashes of his past. He blinked against the glare, squinting to find his bearings. Painful memories danced before him, moments of joy turned sour, laughter that transformed into tears. "Tommy!" Jake's voice echoed, more frantic now, woven through the radiant haze. "Jake!" He cried out again, but his voice felt small in the expanse. The brilliance flickered, casting doubt where hope had ignited. "Where are you?" The light dimmed, revealing a figure, standing just beyond reach. It was his mother, her smile soft yet imbued with a sorrow that made his heart ache. "You must let go of what binds you, Tommy," she said gently, her voice a ghostly whisper in the stillness. "You've held it for too long, and now it's time to set it free." Tears began to fall, the weight of realization crashing down on him. "I can't!" Tommy gasped, feeling the tremors of heartbreak. "I can't let him go. Not Jake." The figure stepped closer, her features becoming sharper. "But the burden you carry is heavy. What truth will you face? The truth of love's fragility, or the darkness that surrounds it?" Just as he was about to speak, the ground shook violently again. Distorted shadows began to whirl around them, swirling like a tempest, bringing forth the long-muted cries of souls lost in the despair of memory. Tommy stumbled backward, the emotional tide pulling at him as he fought to stay upright. "That can't be his fate," he whispered, heart racing as he struggled against the growing dread. The air felt thick with tension. "I will find him. I have to hold on to him." "Do you see now, Tommy?" spat the shadow figure, momentarily tangible in the flickering light. "To save him, you must confront not just your fears, but also the scars that cling to you. Will you disarm your past? Or will you allow it to consume you both?" "Shut up!" he screamed, despair lacing each word. "I can't listen to you. I just want my brother back." With an anguished cry, the shadows thinned just enough for him to catch a glimpse of something. Perhaps it was Jake? Or maybe it was merely an illusion, crafted from desperation. "Jake!" Tommy shouted into the swirling darkness, reaching out, hands outstretched as if he could pull his brother from the void itself. The shadows twisted, teasing him with echoes of laughter, then faded away into heart-wrenching silence. Tommy's breath hitched as an unsettling thought settled in. What if the images of happiness were mere reflections of what he'd have to confront? "Face it, Tommy. The truth won't wait forever," the figure taunted. The world around him almost sparkled with static energy, a blend of dread and anticipation. It felt like a firestorm igniting in his throat, the rising sensation of a secret buried deep within. "Do I have to give up everything?" Tommy whispered, the very thought feeling like a dagger in his chest. Would he sacrifice himself to bring Jake back? Pain knotted his insides, forcing him to confront the conflict within. As if reading his thoughts, the shadow figure leaned in closer, its voice a sickly sweetness. "But you must choose what to lose. The bond with your brother? Or the memories that weave your existence? Sacrifice one for the other." The suggestion hung ominously in the air. A moment stretched on like an eternity, and Tommy felt himself teetering at the edge of decision. Suddenly, another tremor echoed through the mausoleum, accompanied by a heart-wrenching scream, a scream that made his blood run cold. "No! Jake!" he roared, panic piercing through the fog of uncertainty. He couldn't back down. Not now. The walls seemed to close in, the light shifting and flickering, each pulse resonating with the heartbeat of his desperate resolve. "Will you embrace the light, or do you stand rooted in fear?" The figure taunted again, the shadows coiling tighter around him. Tommy squeezed his eyes shut against the crushing weight of the gathering storm, his heart beating with the rhythm of raging thunder. "I'll take the truth," he shouted, the determination rising like a tide within him. "I won't let fear decide for me. I'll bring Jake back. I will!" The light suddenly flared brighter, and the shadows recoiled as if burned by his proclamation. The world spun violently around him, and from deep within the core of the blinding illumination, he glimpsed something beyond, something that could either be salvation or doom. Would he find Jake on the other side? Or was this truth going to split him apart, leaving him bare and lost despite his best intentions? Each breath he took trembled with the weight of the unknown, and then, with a final burst of energy, a blinding flash surged as the truth began to unravel before him. What awaited him just beyond the light? Would it lead to his brother or darkness unending? The answers pulsed like a heartbeat, begging him to step closer. The light enveloped Tommy like a celestial embrace, its warmth seeping into his very bones, dissolving the cold shadow that threatened to consume him. "I choose!" he shouted, resolute, his voice echoing against the stone walls of the mausoleum. "I choose the truth." In an instant, everything shifted. It felt like being swept away by a roaring river, a violent current pulling him towards something profound. The world around him blurred and twisted. Memories cascaded through his mind like water rushing over a waterfall. There were moments of laughter, joy, and love intertwined with the sharpness of grief, the raw ache of longing. "Tommy!" Jake's voice broke through the din, clear and desperate. "Help me!" With that cry, everything snapped into focus. Tommy felt a pull, an unwavering bond calling him deeper into the luminous realm. There, at the center of the chaos, he could see Jake. His brother stood perilously close to the edge of a gaping chasm, shadows writhing beneath, grasping for him with cold, skeletal hands. "Tommy, don't let them take me!" Jake cried, terror etched across his face. Tommy's heart raced, pumping adrenaline through his veins. "I'm coming, Jake!" But as he moved toward his brother, a heavy weight pressed down on his chest, a bile of uncertainty filling his throat. All those unwelcome thoughts, the sacrifices, the cost. Could he risk it all? What would he have to let go of to pull Jake back? Face the truth. The shadow figure hissed, its voice curling around the warmth like smoke. "What will you sacrifice?" Tommy shook his head vigorously, trying to drown out the temptation of doubt. "I want to give in." He surged forward, breaking through the shimmering veil, channeling all the warmth and love he had for Jake. "Tommy!" The shadows clawed at Jake, inching closer to him. Every thought rippled with affection and pain. Images flooded Tommy's mind, hiding under sheets as kids, endless summer days, and the lancing pain of watching their mother slip away. "Hold on, Jake. Just hold on." The moment hung in the balance, a chasm between darkness and light, when suddenly, a memory of their mother surfaced, pushing through the fog. "You have the power, Tommy," she whispered through the ether, her gentle voice a soothing balm. "Love conquers all." Fueled by that divine remembrance, Tommy felt a surge of clarity. "I want to lose you!" he roared, an unyielding determination igniting within him. In one powerful leap, he grasped Jake's outstretched hand, gripping it with all the love and longing he could muster. Light erupted around them, radiant tendrils breaking through the dark, intertwining their spirits. The moment their hands met, a blast of searing brightness engulfed them, pulsating with energy that washed away the shadows. The spectral taunts faded, replaced with the chorus of joyful laughter, resonating deep within their souls. The darkness twisted and faded, revealing a path lined with glimmering light, souls emerging from the depths of despair, the lost finally finding their way home. Tommy's heart swelled as he felt the tension around them lighten, the air becoming clearer, stripped of the suffocating anguish that had plagued them. "Mom!" Jake's voice was a whisper, the warmth spreading like sunshine. "Are we safe?" Tommy turned to his brother, tears glistening in his eyes. "We did it! We broke free! We chose love!" And then, from within the shimmering light, their mother appeared, her ethereal presence radiating love and warmth. A tranquil smile graced her lips, restoring a feeling of home, calming the turmoil within their hearts. "Together again," she said softly, her voice caressing their souls. "You both showed incredible strength." In her embrace, they felt the burdens of loss fall away, healing unfolding around them like petals from a flower. It was an honor, a promise fulfilled. They would carry the memories, but the sacrifices demanded by the shadows no longer loomed over them. As the ghostly darkness retreated, leaving the mausoleum and graveyard behind, the world felt lighter, free from the shackles of despair. The guilt, the pain they were. Memories now, brightened by the love they shared. Hand in hand, Tommy and Jake stepped into the light, their gazes locked on their mother. In that moment, they understood love held power, an eternal bond that even death could not sever. "Let us go home," Tommy whispered, his heart finally at peace, and as the light enveloped them completely, the echoes of laughter danced around them, weaving into a melody of hope averted from darkness and shrouded in the embrace of love. The darkness had lost its battle. Tommy took a deep breath, heart full, knowing they had triumphed. Together. Now, if you don't want to miss out on more exclusive stories that bind hearts and thrill minds, subscribe immediately to the channel. This is the moment to show your support. We need you. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and keep these stories coming. And don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions, theories, and what you thought of the ending. We want to hear all about it. This journey is only just beginning, so do not wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this conclusion. Your support matters more than you know.